We have a roll call. We are missing Mr. Armbruster. Everyone else is present. Have the minutes of the last meeting before you. Do we have a motion to accept those, or do we have any changes on them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Need a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved from the last meeting. Okay. We have two requests this evening. The first is from number 19 Sagebrush Lane. Mr. Cody Sheets is going to be doing the presentation.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Cody Sheets with PDS staff. As per KRS 100, a notification was made. Were there any conflicts to declare? And did anyone perform a site visit?
That's no. No.
I would like to submit the staff report presentation and submitted materials that were submitted electronically for the record.
Yeah. Thanks, sir.
So as the chair stated, this is a variance request to increase the cumulative floor area of an accessory structure in the residential compact subdivision or RCPS zone. The applicant proposes to construct a 480 square foot private workshop where 352 square feet is the maximum allowed. So the site in question is approximately 0.2 acres and is currently occupied by a single-family home. The surrounding area consists mostly of single-family residential dwellings. The site and surrounding area is zoned RCPS. The RCPS zone has a minimum front yard depth of 25 feet, minimum side yard width of 3 feet on one side and 10-foot aggregate, and a minimum rear yard depth of 25 feet. The existing land use is single-family residential, as is the majority of the surrounding area. Here we have a Google Street View of the property. This is from June 2022. And here we have a Google Street View. This one's from July 2013. This is the back of the property where the proposed workshop will go. The play set has been removed since. So here we have the submitted site plan. The property in question is highlighted in red. In yellow is the single-family residence. And in blue, we have the proposed workshop. It'll be 24 by 20 with a height of 18 feet by 11 inches. This was a submitted concept plan of the proposed structure. This was another submitted site plan. From the previous slide, we can again see the existing home as well as the proposed workshop. The 25-foot rear yard setback and 3-foot side yard setback, as well as the 12.5-foot double frontage setback. So on lots which have more than one frontage, which this does because it's a corner lot, the minimum front yard depth shall be provided on at least one street frontage, with the other frontage having a minimum of half of the required minimum front yard depth. So this is just an example of that. And this is for buildable area. And then highlighted here in yellow is buildable area again. So this is the relevant code of the Erlanger zoning ordinance concerning accessory structures in all districts. The one we're particularly interested in is the cumulative floor area of all accessory buildings located in the rear yard shall not exceed 10% of the rear yard. And before any variance is granted, the board must find that the granting of the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, alter the essential character of the general vicinity, cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations. So in making these findings, the board shall consider whether, one, the requested variance arises from special circumstances which do not generally apply to land in the same general vicinity or in the same zone. In this case, staff finds that there are special circumstances. The property is located on a corner lot, which reduces the overall size of the rear yard. If the property was not located on a corner lot, the rear yard would be 4,550 square feet and would allow for a 455 square foot accessory structure, which would decrease the amount of the variance needed. The second consideration is whether the strict application of the provisions of the regulation would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of land or would create an unnecessary hardship of the applicant. In this case, staff finds that no. The applicant could, if they wanted to, build a structure that would be the required size. And finally, the last consideration is whether the circumstances are the results of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulation from which relief is sought. In this case, staff finds no. The request for the variance came from the typical permitting process. So staff is giving a favorable recommendation for the variance request to increase the cumulative floor area of an accessory structure in the RCPS zone from the required 352 square feet to 480 square feet. Staff finds that the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or nuisance, and is not an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulation. As stated previously, the property is located on a corner lot, which reduces the total amount of rear yard when calculating the allowed size of an accessory structure. The proposed accessory structure is only currently a 36% increase, but if they were capable of using the full rear yard, it would only be a 6% increase. And we just have an example of that here. So this is the existing rear yard as it's calculated. Again, 3,520 square feet. And here we have, if this was not a corner lot, where they would have the 4,550 square feet, just as a matter of reference. So I thank you very much, and I'd be more than happy to take any questions at this time.
Very good, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Sheets? Nope. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Whoever's going to speak for or against, please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Okay, please state that. Okay. State your reason for your request, please, Ed.
My name is Clarence Milliken, and I'm getting ready to retire. I work for the city, getting ready to retire here in about 16 months. I enjoy working on vintage Japanese motorcycles, and it's a hobby that I've loved for years. Just want to build a nice little workshop to give me something to do the rest of my days. You know, I've got a single car garage right now, and it's just not enough room to do anything in. Just want to build me a nice little workshop. I've got a petition signed by all my neighbors surrounding. Nobody's against it. There's 3 other 24 by 24 garages within 200 yards of my residence. And just hope you guys pass it on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for? No? All right. Any discussions? We do have submitted the sheet with the neighbors that are in agreement with the thing. That's the record. So, if there's no discussion or questions, then a motion would be in order.
I can make a motion. You guys are ready?
Yeah.
Regarding file number BOA 2303-0004, I move to approve the variance request to increase the cumulative floor area of an accessory structure in the RCPS zone from the required 352 square feet to 480 square feet for reasons as stated and supported by staff.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call vote.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes?
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carried. You're welcome. Okay. All right, we have one other issue. Is anyone here for that this evening? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So I would like to submit the staff report presentation and submitted materials that were sent electronically for the record.
Okay.
So as the chair stated, this is a request for an appeal to the requirements of the zoning ordinance to increase the number of wall signs permitted within the highway commercial or HC zone. The applicant is proposing to install a total of 3 wall signs on a proposed structure with 1 building street frontage, where 1 wall sign is permitted per building street frontage. The site in question is approximately 3.69 acres, and currently a hotel is being constructed on the site. The site is 0.1 miles southeast of the intersection of Atlas Airway and Houston Road, and 0.1 miles from I-75. The surrounding area consists of a mixture of warehouses, hotels, other commercial uses, as well as single and multifamily residential a little bit further from the site. The existing zone is HC or highway commercial. Nearby zones include HC as well as institutional. And then again, a little bit further out, we do have some single family as well as multifamily residential zones nearby. The HC zone does permit hotels and motels. The existing land use is shown here as vacant, but as stated, a hotel is currently being constructed on the site. Surrounding land uses are office, commercial, and vacant uses. So here we have an aerial view of the site. The property in question is highlighted in red. You can see Atlas Airway just to the south there, curving around, as well as the interstate in the corner there. This is a southern view of the site, so again, outlined in red. And here we have a Google Street View. This will be from March 2023. You can see the hotel as it is being constructed. And this is from I-75, I-71. So this was a submitted site plan. And the requests are for 2 additional signs. So one to the rear of the building, and that'll be north. One to the right side of the building, that'll be east. And there has been a received approval for a sign at the front of the building to the south. So here we have an elevation. This is the rear north elevation, and the proposed sign will go there, highlighted in the red rectangle. The size of the sign will be 108.66 square feet. That'll be the boxed size. Based off of the approved site plans, there are 277 feet 2 inches of lineal building width, allowing for a sign of up to a maximum of 554.3 square foot. So it does fit within that size. Here we have the right side elevation. This is looking east. The sign is highlighted in the red rectangle here again. This one is also 108.66 square feet boxed. Based off of the approved site plan, there are 65 feet 7 inches of lineal building width, which would allow for a sign of a maximum of up to 131.2 square feet. So it does, again, fit within that size limit. Here we have a submitted kind of graphic example of how the sign will look in a little bit more detail. So this is table 11.1 of the Erlanger zoning ordinance, which shows the following. Within the highway commercial zone, they are permitted a wall sign, 1 wall sign per building street frontage, and that sign can be 2 square feet per lineal foot of building width on the side of the building which the sign is located. The Erlanger zoning ordinance defines a street as a public or private thoroughfare which provides access to adjacent properties. And lot frontage is all of the property abutting one side of the right-of-way of a street. Per KRS 100, appeals to the board may be taken by any person or entity claiming that there is an error in or that they are injuriously affected or aggrieved by an official action, order, requirement, interpretation, grant, refusal, or decision of the zoning administrator. So staff is giving a recommendation to uphold the zoning administrator's decision to not allow a total of 3 wall signs on a proposed structure with 1 building frontage, where 1 wall sign is permitted per building street frontage in the HC zone. Staff finds that there is no error in the zoning administrator's decision to not allow additional wall signs where 1 wall sign is permitted per building street frontage. And I'd be more than happy to take any questions at this time.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? So the street frontage, the only street frontage considered on this building is what is Atlas Drive,
Yes, correct.
and wouldn't be considered I-75 is what this, apparently, this is what this is proposals to give exposure from I-75 so you can determine what the building is.
Correct. Yeah, so if you look at the parcel outline, unfortunately, it doesn't actually touch I-75.
Yeah.
So they are just considered to have the 1 street frontage there.
Okay, all right. Okay, anybody have any questions from Mr. Sheets?
I got a question. So you mentioned per KRS 100 that we have to find that an error was made on behalf of the zoning administrator. Has anything been submitted to what exactly that error is?
That would be a good question for the applicant. The error is that the street frontage should be 2 street frontages.
Okay, so, okay. I'll ask the applicant when I
Yeah.
come up. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? All right. Thank you. So whoever's going to speak for or against, please stand up and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Very good.
My name is Brooke Alini, and I'm with Atlantic Sign Company. To answer your question, so the straight part of Atlas Way, that's the only street frontage they're counting, not the curve. Because, right? Am I correct? Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, wait. So if we counted the curve, we could have a sign on that side of the building, but because it's not technically the frontage, we can't have that sign. Can I click through for a second? So the best view that I found that you had up here is this. So this is driving into it. So they have a sign on the front, and they're also going to have a small monument sign in the front. They're not going to do one of those big pole signs. So the only visibility you're going to have when you're coming from Cincinnati down is going to be the backside of that hotel and the east elevation. So they're opting for that instead of a pole sign, is what they're asking for. So, and again, if the frontage on that curve counted, we'd only be asking for one sign, one additional sign. But because that doesn't count as frontage, we have to ask for 2.
Is there a reason why pole signage is not being used? Is it just preference, or is there something prohibiting that?
I don't think there's anything prohibiting that. I think it's just preference. The way that this is set up, there's a hotel on that front parcel in front of it. So I think it would just, I think it would look really cluttered if there was another pole sign right there. I don't think it would be any good directional, because it's just going to, there's 2 or 3 out there already. So to add a 4th would just, I think, confuse people. So I think having it be on, yeah, see there's that, it's like a wind gate, and then I think it's a comfort inn. So to add another one, I just think is a little too cluttery. But I think having it on the back side of that wall and on the east side is, you get clear visibility when you're coming from both directions.
Any other questions? Yeah, without either the pole sign or that on the building, anywhere coming from the north, you're not, by
You'd
the
have
time
no
you
idea.
discover the building, you're beyond the
Yeah.
exit.
And that exit, we all know, that's a really cluttered area of chaos anyway when you're coming down out of, either coming up from 471 or down from Cincinnati. I think it gets a little busy there. So any sort of visibility prior to the hotel would be great.
Yeah.
And all the signs on the building, they're all the same size. So like he was saying, they're all 108. The one that's approved is also 108. So they'll all be uniformly the same size.
Is that a brand sign that people
Probably.
would recognize as
Yeah.
the Candlewood Suites?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it, but
We're doing a couple. This must be a new brand. I'm not sure who owns it, but we're doing quite a few of these in the area.
okay. Any discussion? George?
Maybe need a little discussion here.
Yeah,
Because it's not a matter of our opinion, correct?
it's,
It's a matter of upholding.
I think there's definitely a good case, in my opinion, there's a good case for being able to put these signs on the side of the building in lieu of a aerial sign or a big pole sign. They're gonna have to have some kind of visibility, notability to where they're gonna be able to be seen before you get past the exit and wind up staying in Florence somewhere, so that's, they're definitely gonna have to have something, so it's gonna become now maybe a choice between a pole sign or granting signs on the building.
I agree, it makes sense, but where I'm struggling with is we're bound by KRS 100, and I'm trying to find what
just seems like a preference for the hotel to have that sign, there's nothing more.
Am I able to say anything during discussion time? I just want to answer the error question.
Huh?
But I don't know the rules, I can't remember which ones are. Okay, so what I think as the applicant, what I think the error is that loop on the side, that should count as frontage. And so that's where we're coming from, saying the error in the code is that we only have one street frontage. If, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if that had been named a different street, we would have frontage there. But because it's all one street, we only get it in the front. So that's where, as the applicant, that I think that's the error. And
Because of the curve.
because it's technically two frontages, but, yeah.
Sure, you have two different directions.
Yeah, and as the applicant and as the hotel, they didn't get to pick the,
That would take care of two, correct?
yeah, that would take care of the east one if that was if that was a regular street, that would take care of the east sign, correct?
So we have a south and an east side.
Just to provide a little bit of additional clarification, the sign does not need to go on the side that
Oh,
the
yeah.
frontage is located on. So they could actually, if that was counted as a frontage, they could put it on the rear side. It's just the number that they're allowed per street frontage. It doesn't dictate where the sign actually is located at.
Okay.
So if that was a street, we could get two,
So you're requesting three, is that correct?
yes.
Okay. But the error that we're looking at with the 90-degree turn without changing streets would allow for two, had that been two different streets, because obviously two different directions that it's.
So I could see it making an exception for two.
Yeah,
The third one, I'm not seeing that.
that's kind of where I'm at too.
I mean, because if you're coming from north to south, you're seeing the one.
You're gonna have one here, and you're gonna have one over there.
Correct.
The north side of the building is going to be, is it somewhat obscured by
By Atlas.
Atlas Air? So I think you're looking at the east side as a good blank slate. If you had a sign on that to, that would really, that's where I would put it if I only had one, so, but,
I think that they're hoping that the sign on the north, when you're coming down, you'll see it a little further up the highway before you get to it. The one on the east side, you'll see, but not in the same amount of time.
Okay.
Instead of, in lieu of the pole sign, they're putting it on the back of the wall so that they get a little bit more visibility.
the visibility, if you're northbound, looking over that way, I mean, if you're looking for that, probably by the time you see that building, you're beyond the exit ramp at Erlanger, so.
Unfortunately, yes, I think
Yeah,
you're right.
So I don't think that's the south side is gonna make a lot of difference.
The one on the south side is just like the entrance. That's where so people coming up from Florence or like Lexington going north into Cincinnati,
Well,
they'll see.
you are gonna have a yard sign or something right?
Yeah,
in
it's
the-
a,
I said yard sign, just a
I knew
short
exactly
sign
I knew
that's-
what you meant.
Yeah,
It's 5'11" It's just like a little monument sign out in the front.
so if you get to Atlas Drive, you should be able to find it.
Yes,
Okay,
it's just getting to Atlas Drive
okay.
and navigating the other hotels that are in the area, because I think when you're tired, every hotel looks the same. So ample signage helps out with that.
Okay. Anything else? Would you like to draft a?
I mean, the request is for three signs. I could agree to two. I'm having a hard time against the third. Specifically, it's not their preference to have a large pole sign hanging up, and they do have a yard sign as you put it down low.
Yeah.
Could we recommend, and I'm moving towards accepting the request Use of 2 signs instead of 3. Is that a possible motion?
Well, they're getting to
I'm gonna turn my mic on so it gets recorded. I think the way to do that would be to find that they have 2 street frontages. Does that make sense? To allow for 2 wall signs.
To allow for two.
To overturn the zoning administrator's decision by finding that they have 2 street frontages, which would allow for 2 wall signs.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Cody, does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm writing this out, so I'm writing this out, so when I make a motion, that's right, you said. 2 street frontages to allow for 2 street signs,
2 wall signs.
2 wall signs. Okay. Anything else before motion?
I don't have anything to add to it. I pretty much in agreement, that's the way we can around this. You'll have to take this back to the owners and figure out from there, I suppose, but you still have the option to put one sign on the building and put a pole sign if they're not in agreement.
Right, which, that's what I'll basically tell them. We get, you know, if we approve it the way that we're speaking now, they would get 1 additional sign, but they do still have the option of, instead of having a monument sign, they could do a pole sign. Because I don't think they get 2, I don't think they have a monument sign and a pole sign. I think it's one or the other.
You can have a pole sign, yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. We have enough of them out there, and I agree with that it is a little cluttered with big signs and stuff, so yeah.
Yep.
it's a better option. Okay, so we have a motion in order. Are you prepared?
We'll give it a shot.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I'd like to make the following motion on file number BOA 2303-0005. The request and appeal to the requirements of the zoning ordinance to increase the number of wall signs permitted within the highway commercial zone. The applicant is proposing to install a total of 3 wall signs on a proposed structure with 1 building frontage where 1 wall sign is permitted per building street frontage. I move to overturn the decision of the zoning administrator based on the facts and considerations contained in the staff report and based on the testimony of staff and witness present at the public hearing, subject to the following conditions, that we find that there are 2 street frontages to allow for 2 wall signs.
Very good. Do we have a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
All right, Mr. Whalen,
Yes.
Mr. McVeigh,
Yes.
Mr. Conley,
Yes?
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Very good. Motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you. Okay. Where's all my notes there? Do we have any other business this evening? Huh?
I was just going to line, the board items are up next. I don't think we have any board items.
I don't think we do. I don't think we did get a cleaned up copy of our
Bylaws.
bylaw, yeah,
Yep.
bylaws.
And I need to get Mr. Bettis's signature on those. It requires a chair and a vice chair.
Aha, okay.
So I'll get that when we conclude. Nothing has been submitted for next month, so
So nothing from the staff?
Nothing.
Okay. So we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, do we have something, Mr.
I was just going
Sheets?
to say, Pamela did want me to remind everyone that for the June meeting, since the deadline does fall on a holiday, the deadline for that is actually Tuesday as opposed to Monday, and that's going to be for the June meeting.
On a Tuesday, okay. Okay, very good, thanks. Huh? Okay. Where you headed? Oh, okay, cool. All right. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.